Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. I am still Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. It is still in the description below. It is still your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. I am Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. Today we're discussing a 2022 launch that is a long-term and rather substantial evolution of the original 2011 Patek Philippe 5270 Perpetual Calendar Chronograph. This is the 5270P/014 model, so the -014 version of the Platinum 5270. Entails a lot of dial changes, even compared to the other Platinum model from 2018. So we're going to go slow through this, and I'm going to bring on a older 5270G just to show you what's changed on the dial. But let's start with the Platinum case. Nothing has changed there. So the watch remains 41 millimeters in diameter, 12.7 millimeters thick, from lug tip to lug tip, 49.4 millimeters, with a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. When I throw it on my wrist, this is going to be a little bit distorted by the fact that the strap is very new and very stiff, so it's going to pinch my wrist a bit. The watch is not quite as long across my wrist as it's going to appear here, but I could comfortably wear this. I think you can wear this watch if your wrist is 16 centimeters circumference and up, and mine is 16. It's not super thick. 12.7 is not that thick, and with a sloped concave bezel, it'll actually slide pretty easily underneath the cuff. This angle is a good one for gauging whether the lugs are over the edge of my wrist. They are not, and that's even pulling the tight strap as hard as I can to keep it centered and flush on the wrist. Don't be fooled. I actually have more clearance than this appears to give me. The strap's an interesting piece because it is large rectangular scale, black gloss alligator leather, and these are very symmetrical scales. This is a super high-grade cut of the beast, and the one wrinkle here is that it uses a contrasting stitch in green, which I love. There's a folded edge, and then on the bottom you can see this is a Patek factory strap, and no crimping, no gouging. The leather on the bottom is calfskin. It uses Patek's pull tab spring bars, so you can pop the strap off the case without having to resort to tools. And then we have the Calatrava cross. It is the emblem of the company. You'll find it on the buckle. You'll also find it on the crown. This is a platinum clasp for a platinum watch, and you can see it is a single fold deployant, just like that. Prevents you from dropping your watch accidentally. There is a little rosette style spring there that snaps shut when it's closed and keeps it fairly secure. Between the lugs, a top Vesselton diamond. That's how you know it is a modern era Platinum Patek Philippe. You could see that the fluted profiles of the lugs at all four corners remain exceptionally sharp, as does the step from the case to the edge of the bezel. This is a fairly complex case. You could see stepped lugs, fluted lug shoulders, concave bezel, inward stepped case back. Patek case making from its early days in 1975 with Atelier Réuni. Patek case making's really come a long way, and it's deeply impressive these days. So the concave bezel actually thins out the watch quite a bit, and then you can see there's a little flange or a lip next to a somewhat boxed and cambered sapphire that sits over a gradient green dial, so lighter green at the center, darker green at the edge. Now this is where it pays to bring in another 5270. So we're going to look at a 5270G-014. Note what's going on here. We've got a tachymeter scale outboard. We have a scale for the date down at 6 o'clock, whose numeral size is actually wax and wane quite a good deal. We have leaf hands at center, and you can see that the hands for the sub-registers are all mirrored and polished. And then we have baton-style hour indices. Now let's take a look at the 5270P-014. Okay, the tachymeter is gone. This is a lot more like the original 2011 version of the watch. You can also see we now have extended center-faceted Dauphine hands for the hours and minutes. You'll appreciate that the numerals for the date down around the moon phase, they're much larger now, and the hands for the sub-registers are now white varnished to make them easier to see. You'll also appreciate that the indices are now dart style with pointed inward tips rather than the baton on the other watch, and even compared to the original salmon dial, 5270P. This does away with the tachymeter. It does away with the combination of baton indices and Arabic numerals, and it does away with the leaf hands. So this is a very different look for the 5270. It's not just a gradient green dial. Okay. Taking a look at the case back, this is where things get fun. Mechanically, all 5270s are the same. They use the caliber 29-535 PSQ, Petit Second Quantième. It is a perpetual calendar with small seconds. It's a nicely sized movement that properly fills the case back, and it's got a manual wind power reserve of 65 hours. Yes, it does feature hacking seconds. You can also see it features a free-sprung Gyromax style balance with all timing adjustments done using the eccentric masses on the spokes. So 6-position adjustment to heat and to cold, so that is one more than a standard chronometer. 4 hertz beat rate. Of course, you have the hacking seconds and the free-sprung regulator. Don't know how well you can see this, but there's also an overcoil hairspring, so in any physical position, the watch will keep very consistent time. All this pivots on 33 jewels. It employs a column wheel, which you can see right here, which is black polished and capped with a lateral clutch, and the lateral clutch includes nostalgic pocket watch style golden chaton pivots for the wheels. You'll also note how a chronograph clutch works. The first, second, and third wheels in the series actually have 3 different tooth profiles. We have a little pawl and pawl wheel for an instantaneous minute jumper. That's what you're looking at right there. And you may wonder, why doesn't this have a silicone hairspring? Why is this a ferrous overcoil? Because those are considered to be more premium and more sophisticated at Patek Philippe. They require higher levels of internal watchmaking certification to work on. And it's the same thing with lateral clutches. Lower level Patek Philippe watchmakers work on vertical clutches. The highest level people work on lateral clutches because they require more artistry and craft and knowledge to correctly set. They are also far more beautiful. I will say this, beauty overall here is surpassing. Now, this is all 30 meters water resistant, so don't take it swimming or anything. You wouldn't want to spoil the anglage, which is world class. Look at it on the edge of both the steel chronograph parts and the rhodium-plated brass bridges. It's a mile wide and mirrored. Lange does no better. In fact, this will have you reconsidering Lange's chronograph movement finish and architecture supremacy, as there is a lot to love here. Just about the only thing I would like to see that I don't see is some sort of a sharp inward bevel where 2 bevels meet in a crease. This little bridge for the chronograph driving wheel would be the natural place for it. That's really the only omission. Everything else is gorgeous. The satination on the steel parts of the chronograph with beveling on the side. You can see every jewel and screw sink is internally beveled. We have subtle stripes across the bridges, satination on the wheels, some internal beveling on the larger wheels, black polished screw heads with chamfered slots and circumference, and engine turning on the base plate. There's a lot to love. And if you love this watch, reach out to me. I am still Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.